Excuse me, please. Thank you. Hello, good morning. Look at me. Over here.
And one look in the corner.
Right to left.
Yeah, in the corner. Yeah. And down here.
And here, please. Down. Alter, du gehst mir auch in der Raum. Just down to this corner, please. Boris Becker, geradeaus. Hier unten bitte.
Herr Becker.
Einen Schritt nach vorne. Von der Wand weg, bitte.
Would you mind just squeezing it together, please? There we go. Thanks very much. That's good. Gentlemen, just to the left of the top.
You're right, please.
Gentlemen.
One more, please. One more. Ah, thank you, guys. Thank you.
And to your right.
One look over here to your right side, please.
In the right corner.
And once in the middle again.
Back to the corner, please. Please come back to the corner and up.
Can you do one step forward? One step forward. One step Hey, without it, turn to us one more One by one.
Let's continue with Mr. Becker.
Ja.
Alex would give the number.
Und nach unten, hier unten.
Herr Becker, nochmal den Blick bitte.
Look up.
Okay. What's the problem, please?
What's in the middle, Mr. Becker?
And in the right corner. In the right corner.
Einmal hier rüber, genau, ja.
And up here in the middle.
Einmal von der Wand bitte noch weg.
Boris, da links wieder.
Der Becker einmal nach rechts. Der Becker noch einmal nach rechts, bitte.
Einmal hier raus.
Der Becker einmal noch nach rechts, bitte. In the right corner, please. In the right corner. Einmal hier unten.
Einmal hier oben mit Schulter umdrehen.
Ja, danke. Den Daumen nochmal. Boris, nochmal den Daumen. Boris. Den Daumen nochmal.
What's in the middle? Yes, thank you. And what's in the middle? Very good. Yes. Please.
On the right here first.
Please, sir. Yes.
Einmal noch die Mitte, bitte. Einmal noch die Mitte, bitte.
Step here.
Thank you.
Boom, Boom, The World versus Boris Becker, a film by Alex Gibney. He's the Oscar winner for the film Taxi to the Dark Side. He now met with Boris Becker, including in the place that's so very important to Boris Becker, Wimbledon. He once said that for him it was the best, the most beautiful place in the world, and 30 years ago he also celebrated his life's greatest triumph there. We all know that since then his life has been very different, very tragic, and that is also told in this documentary, which premieres here at Berlinale in the Berlinale Special Gala. His peers, such as John McEnroe, also get a chance to speak, but above all, the story told is one that speaks about one's own aspirations of happiness, but also of great failure, a tragic but sometimes also very funny story about Boris Becker, a star of this Berlinale.
I think I need the earpiece, huh?
No, you're the one who can.
I'm good.
You're good both ways.
Ja?
Thank you, everybody.
Alex.
Please take a seat. Ladies and especially gentlemen, please take your seats.
Sure. No, it's all right.
Good morning, everybody, to our press conference. We will start in a minute when everybody's done. Welcome to the press conference of our Berlinale special film, Boom Boom, The World versus Boris Becker. This is a co-production by Ventureland, represented today on the stage by co-producer John Battsek. Please welcome. The other production company, but also, of course, the director of the film, an Oscar winner and a Berlinale competition entry participant, and this year with the Boris Becker film in our Berlinale special. Please welcome Alex Gibney, Jigsaw Productions. Last but not least, this is one of the many films that Alex Gibney made on people. So these people are not only the protagonists, they are persona and persone in his film. Please welcome Boris Becker.
Hello. Thank you.
We have half an hour. I will collect questions. Please raise your hands. We have to finish on time. I will start with the first question. You can already start dealing the microphones. And I want to announce shortly that we're showing part 1 of this film, but there is also a part 2, and both of them will be released soon on Apple TV+. So my first question goes to you, Alex. When did you think about this film? When did you know that you will make it? And did the fact that the core for me in this film about Boris Becker are the 2 interviews, did it somehow change or infect your approach to how you portray Boris Becker?
Sure. So, I mean, I should say that the film started for me when I got a call from John Battsek who said, would you be interested in doing a film about Boris? I think John still has the email. It was a long question email, and the response was back, you had me at Boris. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Boris. I watched him, during his tennis playing days, and listened to his commentary on the BBC, and so I was hugely excited about it. But as a filmmaker also, the great thing that Boris, the talent that Boris has, as opposed to many great athletes, is his ability as a storyteller. And so his ability, not only my opportunity to tell the story, but his ability as a storyteller to tell his own story, that was hugely exciting to me. The interviews were interesting because the first interview, or a series of interviews, took place in 2019. And that's when we toured, I walked the grounds of Wimbledon with Boris and so forth and so on. The pandemic intervened. And then we took up the story and began to edit, and then conducted an interview just 2 days before Boris was sentenced and taken to prison. And it was a very powerful and emotional interview, and that caused me to reconceive the structure and essential elements of the film. So sometimes, they say about documentary, it's just like a fiction film, except you write the script at the end instead of the beginning.
Boris, you had numerous microphones put in front of you. This time it was a filmmaker. Did you feel a difference in the way you were asked, you were interviewed?
Well, first of all, let me say that I'm very honored to sit between Alex and John. It was a real privilege to work with you both. It was a real challenge as well. And so, what was it, 5 years ago when we started discussing? Yeah. So it's a real, it became a labor of love. It's real, talking about your life, it's as personal as it's going to get. So you want to be associated with people that know their job, know how precious that is, and you also want to be able to trust them. And I felt at home all the time. And so, a lot has happened in my life in the last 5 years. When we first started, I didn't think we had neither the pandemic nor a jail sentence. So, I mean, a lot of things have happened, imagine. But as they say, at the end, all is good. And I'm very excited and very proud of the work that we're going to see this afternoon. And, hopefully everybody gets to see a different side of the famous guy that's sitting in front of you.
First question here.
Hi, Deborah Cole from AFP News Agency. I have a question, or actually 2 questions for Boris. First of all, the film sort of sets out to explain, how you could be such a champ on the court and then have such difficulties off the court. I was wondering if you could comment on what you think the film reveals about you that we didn't know before. And then the second question is, part of the title is The World versus Boris Becker. And I was wondering if you feel like that captures it, that you've been treated unfairly by the world.
I'm the last person to complain about my life. I'm 55 years old and I'm very proud of the things that I've done. Did I make mistakes? Of course I did. Everybody should raise their hand if they haven't done their own mistakes. In my case, it's just reported to the world. That's the difference between the mistakes. Look, it's very, very difficult to win Wimbledon at 17. You got to be a little bit crazy, borderline, crossing the line, doing things that nobody has done before in order to achieve something that nobody has achieved before. It's you expect these world champions in whatever sport they are to be like everybody else. Well, we are different. Otherwise, we wouldn't be better than in my case, thousands of other tennis players. So to have that mindset and live a normal lifestyle is almost impossible, because you always, in my heart of hearts, I am a tennis player, and when the going gets tough, I usually get better. I'm not afraid of a tie break. I'm not afraid of a final. But in real life, that's a problem sometimes. So it took me a little bit to understand it, to mature, and to start to control my life, which I have done. It's just that some of the things that went wrong, years ago, I've paid a heavy price for it, but today I'm a bit better for it. I'm a bit hopefully smarter. I'm a bit more humble, maybe than I used to be, because once I have a tennis racket in my hand and a tennis ball, I don't need anybody.
Alex, did I just notice correctly that you already started researching on your next documentary film about Berlinale? Press conferences?
Well, it's an occupational hazard. I am a documentarian, so I document.
We have a question in the back, please. Whenever you ask questions, say who you are and who you write for or work for.
My name is Mahari Sigit, African Refugee News. Boris, you are the greatest. You are, no, really, I tell you, because I saw you as a kid when you came to the Internazionale the first time in Rome. And for me, you and Panatta are the best players in the world. People forget Panatta, but you had the same style of playing tennis. But you were stronger because you were boom, boom. I wrote this the first time. It was not the Americans. We were in Rome, and we said, this guy, who is he? And you were coming out, and you were all red, little boy. And I met you also 2006 here at Berlin. You were with the nephew of Mandela. And she said to me, this guy is great. But the guy,
Keep
like
talking.
a man.
Keep talking. I like the flowers. I like the flowers.
It took me 50 years to meet you, so it's not a day. And I thank also for this. My question is, today you are a new man. Now you know the mistakes you made. But how much did tennis give you as a man? Not as many years. As a man, how much did tennis give you?
Well, the reason I became a tennis player, it's difficult to explain. I was fortunate to be talented with different type of sports, but ultimately I was given an opportunity by my parents to choose tennis. Tennis is a very expensive sport. When I picked up the racket in the 70s as a little boy, become a tennis professional wasn't heard about, certainly not in Germany. When I did start in 1984 as a professional, most people asked me, well, can you make a living with it? I mean, is there a job called tennis player? Again, we have to think about, we're talking 80s. Because of tennis, we're sitting here. Because of tennis, this film is made. And so everything I am, I'm because of choosing to be a tennis player.
Next question, please.
Hi to all, my name is Mark Harapetian. I'm founder and publisher of the culture magazine Spirit, the Smile and the Storm since my 16th living year, so I started also young like Boris. And question to Boris, even I'm German, I talk now in English, that the other can also understand. Boris, now you're also a movie star. Are you a cineastic person, and maybe you can name 3 of your all-time favorite films of your life and give a short reason, please? I'm really curious for it. Thank you.
Well, I'm a big film fan. This is my perfect night is with a good movie on the television. This is what I consider, with my loved one next to me, and we're watching a great film. Now there are thousands of great movies. So it's difficult to pick a couple. I like some of the great actors that everybody loves, whether that's a Sean Penn or some of you older. I always loved Jack Nicholson. Those older ones that I loved. I love the James Dean. I love the Marlon Brando. They're all a bit rebel for some reason. I like them. I think it plays a story. But I mostly love about movies when it says it's based on a true story, because then I put my attention to it much more careful. And this is what this film is about. It's not based on a true story. It is a true story, and that's you watch it later on and you think this must be a movie. Well, my life seems like a movie sometimes. I just happen to be. It just happened to be real, and so I'm honored to be part of the Berlinale. I was always coming here as a fan, I was always wondered, one of these days, I'm hopefully going to be a part of a movie, and thanks to John and Alex, I was able to do that. So I'm very honored to be here.
Speaking of movies, we have one of the most productive filmmakers. He's sitting next to me. Alex, this film also to me seems another creation in subgenring the documentaries. Is it for you also some kind of Western, as I saw it?
Yes. In fact, I think it was somebody at the festival who dubbed it a docu-Western, and I like that remark. I mean, one of the things that we discovered as we were putting together some of the tennis sequences was that it was very much, we wanted to take it out of the genteel world of the tennis club and put it in kind of the dusty world of the gunslinger. And so we used some of the music of Ennio Morricone from some of the Sergio Leone spaghetti westerns to really give a sense of that mano a mano vibe. And that was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Also, watching the film is a lot of fun.
Hello.
Very right.
Hello, Ronny Thorau, German Press Agency, Radio Department. Eine Frage an Boris Becker.
A question for Boris Becker, and maybe you can answer in German. How do you feel after the time during the prison? You also said during your interview that you had become a better person, that you wanted to change the people that you were hanging out with. Could you talk a bit about that? Well, I don't want to take it too far, because I think I should have, otherwise I would probably have to speak for hours about how I feel, but it feels great to be free again, be free and at peace with myself. Obviously, we all have to try to prove who we are, or be the better selves that we can be, whether that results in the end, whether that is possible is another question. I'm just pleased to be at the Berlinale. I'm very proud of this work. 5 long, hard years. A lot has happened in that time, the world over, but particularly also in my life. And the end of the film, the way it appears, nobody would have foreseen that in any way. We had our last conversation 2 days before the sentence was pronounced by the court, and I really didn't know what the rest of my life would look like at that point. Just try and fathom that. Such a difficult situation was unheard of previously. I'd never experienced something like that in my life. So, but I'm very pleased, obviously, that after 6 months I was able to leave prison. I see the world with a different perception. I'm over the moon to be back with my family, also with some very precious friends, and I'm able to rebuild my life, and I do hope that the film shows a facet of my life that is perhaps not that known. And in Germany very often it is not very often accepted that the youngest Wimbledon winner has now become a mature man of 55, and maybe this is a new view, a new perception also of Boris Becker, the man.
Television. In the film, we learn a lot about mental power, and you just mentioned the mindset you needed to win Wimbledon. How has this mindset or mental power helped you to pass through these difficult times, and has this time, especially the time in jail, brought you to the brink of what you could bear?
That's a very good question, and I try to be as honest as I can. Everything we do, everybody in the room, everything we decide really starts with your mindset, your attitude. When we get up in the morning, we all have a plan of how today would hopefully look like. In most cases, it doesn't go after plan. Usually something happens. And in a way, my life as a tennis player has prepared me for my time in jail. Because the only thing that saves you on a tennis court in a Wimbledon final is your mind, because you're afraid, you respect your opponent, you don't know the umpire, you don't know how the match is going to be, and your life in jail is very, very similar to that. You never know what's going to be around the corner tomorrow. It helped me in a way to prepare for my life after tennis, because I've been 17 years a tennis professional, but I stopped when I was 32 years old. Now I'm 22, 23 year citizen of the world, and my tennis life, you know, the wins and the losses have prepared me for my life after. And yes, it's been ups, it has some downs, but you know, overall, I'm still sitting here, and I'm okay. Yeah.
Good morning. Andrea Giordano, Icon Italy. 2 questions for Boris Becker. So the first is regarding your relationship with Novak Djokovic before, like a coach for 3 years and after. So how much was important to approach and to collaborate with Nole in that period, and how much is important Nole today for you? And the second question is regarding the tennis today. So in terms of the young talent, so I think Tsitsipas, Yannick Sinner, or Alcaraz, or Zverev. So can you say something regarding this new talent that are in this moment in a tennis tournament? So thank you so much.
I mean, I'd love talking about tennis, but I think that's, you know, part of today. But I'll give you a couple of answers. So
thank you.
Let me just explain to you that Novak Djokovic became a family member. You know, we had a professional relationship for many years, and we you know, parted ways in 2016. But we always stayed close, and especially my time inside, he supported me. He supported my family. You know, Wimbledon final that he's beaten Kyrgios, I've seen inside, and I started crying when he started winning. So Novak Djokovic is also part of the film, and I'm very proud that probably the greatest player of all time is part of a story of Boris Becker. So that just shows you the relationship that I have with Novak and his family. And about today's players, well, they still have to beat Novak. You know, you can call Alcaraz and Sinner and Tsitsipas, and I all like them, and they're great. But I think Novak is still the king. And the great challenge we have is to see the young up-and-comings trying to beat the king, and I want to include, you know, obviously Rafa Nadal as well. You know, he's you know, tennis has 2 kings at the moment, which is great. So this is why tennis at the moment is again very exciting.
I want to pick up this thing about who is in this film, because there's many people in this film, also very many prominent ones, former tennis players, enemies of Boris and friends, of course. I don't know, from Björn Borg, John McEnroe, Mats Wilander, to very cynical and informative, yet Jan Tiriak. Maybe a question to the producers part. Is it hard to bring in these the many famous people in this project? Was it difficult to convince some? And then the next one to Alex. How do you manage to, because in a way your film is also giving your filmic way of justice you are objectifying, but at the same time you bring out a lot of truth and details in a very ambiguous case. So about the participants, and then how to work with them.
It's a very simple and quick and easy answer. It's not difficult to get any of those people when Mr. Boris Becker is asking them if they'll be in his film, because they all love him and they all respect him, and they didn't hesitate for 1 second to agree to be in the film.
Saying enemy was, of course, just meant for the minutes on court.
Exactly.
I mean, I have to add something to it. I mean, you said this lightly. I mean, we have the likes of Djokovic, Björn Borg, John McEnroe, Michael Stick, Jan Tiriak, Mats Wilander. I mean, I don't know any other sports film, no tennis sports film, that has so many former superstars of that sport, you know, spending their time because you know, they wanted to speak about me, and you know, yes, you know, they're all busy, and yes, it was a phone call, but you have to usually go through agents and sponsorship, and they don't have time, they're busy and everything, so this was not easy to get them all. And some of these interviews was done when I was inside, so I wasn't even involved actually. So I don't know how you finished with all these guys, but it's unbelievable, honestly. If you like the sport, you want to listen to, I don't know how many former number ones we have in this. You know, McEnroe, Borg, Djokovic, Wilander, you know, Michael Stick was number 2. I mean, who has that? Honestly, I want to brag a little bit now. I want to show off a little because I'm really proud of that.
you want to say something, Alex, about the way you balance the things they say? And
well, yeah. So all I would say is that I mean, you know, Boris, with great generosity, you know, opened up and talked to me at enormous length. But particularly after the second interview, you know, part of my job was to kind of make sense of this moment of Boris going to prison and how that connected to the 17-year-old who won Wimbledon. And so occasionally, you know, I will, you know, in addition to Boris telling his story, occasionally I will interject, ask questions, wonder about things in ways that is personal to me, but also to some extent I hope stands for kind of the point of view of the audience, a kind of questioning and ultimately search for a larger meaning.
Guten Morgen, ich bin Kira Schlender vom Sat.1 Frühstücksfernsehen. Ich habe zwei Fragen. Zum einen, wie fühlen Sie sich damit, dass es jetzt noch eine zweite Dokumentation geben soll, in der Sie eben nicht selber
How do you feel about the fact that there will be a second documentary, and then also your debtors as well? And what do you think about the fact that you're once again living that life of luxury that you wanted to shed after your stint in the Slam? That's an unusual question, but I do understand that you're a journalist. In the past, there were already attempts at making a film about me, and there will be attempts in the future to make films about me. These two gentlemen also speak for themselves, an Oscar winner and an excellent producer, both sitting at my side. That's not something that others can claim. And we're talking about the absolute stars of tennis that participated in this project, so that speaks volumes, really. So I have critics, and I've faced criticism for the last 37 years, and this will not change in the next 37 years. Some don't like my blue eyes, some don't like my long nose, so others don't approve of my choice of women. So there will always be some criticism. I've never been able to gain everybody's improvement, and I'm not looking for it either.
3 more questions.
This is Matic Majcen from the daily newspaper Večer in Slovenia. A question for Boris Becker. In the film it is said that you were playing your best tennis in periods when you most enjoyed playing the game. So I'd just like to know, do you still play a lot of tennis in your free time? Do you enjoy playing the game? And do you still have that big serve that was your signature move?
I wish I could tell you yes, but you know, tennis, the way I played it was very physical. And that meant I had a lot of injuries after my career. I'm not going to bore you explaining how many pieces of my body have been replaced. So I cannot jump the way I am. I don't have the same power anymore. Do I still love tennis very much? Sometimes I help the German national team in the Davis Cup, and they want to hit some balls with me. So, you know, some of the players, and I always tell them, don't play against me, play with me, so I can hit the ball back. So if you want to make me run, the rally is over quickly. If you hit in the middle of the court, I can hit the ball back. Yes.
Yes. Hi, my name is Marcus. I'm from One Press TV in Sweden. Yeah, it was great to see the movie. I was too young, so I haven't seen it before played. So it was great to see the highlights from your career. But also, I think like one of the topics could be, or was that you got trouble, you know, with the tax and the jail and that thing, and you mentioned it shortly in the movie, and I didn't really quite understand so much out of it. So is there something you could explain more about that?
What does that even mean?
Maybe this takes another hour.
Yeah. About what in particular?
Yeah, I mean, the part when you get a trouble with the tax and the jail thing.
You mean most recently?
Most recently?
I think we will have an individual interview later. I feel it will take with Alex and with Boris.
Can I ask another question?
Please,
so,
be short.
These things with the sleeping tablets you were mentioning in the movie, was that something you mean? Was that affected your career in some way, or what was the purpose? With that.
Look, I was trying to be as honest as I can when Alex asked me the questions, and you know, life as a you know, tennis winning machine, it's a lot harder than it looks. We travel every week to another city, another country, another continent, and then we have to function. And every player has a different way of dealing with these expectations, these pressures, and always trying to win. Because if I don't win, especially the Germans crucify me. So my responsibility was always trying to win as much as I can. Can you sleep all the time? No. Are there ways to fall asleep? The wrong and the right way? Yes. And in hindsight, my wrong decision at the time was taking sleeping pills. Yes. And when Alex asked me, and I'm not going to lie to him. So, is that something common among athletes? Without spelling a secret, I think so. Some do even worse than that. Some sleep like a baby. I wasn't part of that. So this film is very authentic and very real. And I'm never claimed to be always the perfect winning machine. And I had some weaknesses and I had some dark moments as well. And I think the film shows that.
Please.
Gabriel Medra von der ADZ Rumänien.
ADZ Romania.
Rumänisch, genau. Meine Frage
yes, my question
dem rumänischen Protagonisten in diesem Film.
Also concerns the Romanian protagonist in the film. Jan Tiriac played a great salient role in your life. So what is your relationship with him today? And looking back, do you believe that he could have counseled you a bit better, particularly in financial matters?
Kurze Antwort, ja.
Yes, short answer.
Längere Antwort.
The longer, more extended answer, Jan Tiriac is kind of a father figure for me up to this day. My father died in 1999, and Jan Tiriac, despite the fact that we were going our separate ways professionally at least, was there for me. I could always call him, and usually he gave me the right counsel, but does a son always follow the counsels of his father? No, I have my own sons and I have that same experience, and sometimes it takes a while before a son realizes that the father was right. So he took his time, and he was also, in his inimitable way, right to criticize me. But I do know that if push comes to shove, I can call him and he will take that call.
Thank you, everybody. I will wrap it up now, saying that it's now your responsibility to make the readers, to make the viewers come to see the film and take the sleeping pills only after they saw the film. They will have to take them, that much I can promise. We will have the premiere of the film today in the Verti Music Hall at 3 p.m. I wish you good luck for that. It'll be tremendous. I was there in this hall. It's huge. It's gigantic. It's maybe somehow similar, a little bit, a very little tiny bit, to Center Court of Wimbledon. Thank you for this transition to the film court, and thank you, Alex Gibney. Thank you, Boris Becker, and thank you, John, for being here.
Barbara.
Answering. Thank you.
Nach links, nach links, nach links. Becker, nach links.